to 3 minutes. Thank you. California law prohibits the school board from taking action on any matter which is not on the posted agenda unless it is determined to be an emergency by the board. Per board policy BB 9323, individual speakers may be allowed 3 minutes to address the board on each agenda or non-agenda item. The board may limit the total time for public input on each item to 20 minutes. With board consent, the president may increase or decrease the time allowed for the public presentation, depending on the topic and the number of persons wishing to be heard. The president may take a poll of speakers for or against a particular issue and may ask that additional persons speak only if they have something new to add. Is there anyone that would like to speak to the board? No. Mr. Hino? I guess he's not good. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna, superintendent search process, it's a discussion that we're doing. Meet the leadership associate search firm advisors to discuss the following. Overview of the search process.
All right, okay, great. While Edward's getting Rich connected to the Zoom, we'll just go get started. We're on the timeline. We know that we've got the 49ers this afternoon, so just kidding.
Yeah, really.
There's two really important items that we're going to cover today. One is we're going to finalize the timeline to make sure that you understand the dates that we're going to be doing the different parts of this search process. You as a board are going to be settling in on 2 dates that are really going to pertain to you and you only. And the one is when we meet to select the candidates to be interviewed. And that meeting can be a 2 to 3 hour meeting as we go and review all the candidates. And then the other date, obviously, is the interview date. We have some dates in mind, and so it's vital that we get those locked in so that when people start looking at the applications and timelines, they know themselves their own schedule and they can work around that. The other item that we're going to cover is this little check sheet that we do. And this will help as we go through this for you to understand and be clear about how this process works and what the different stages that we do. And Nancy has been working with Serena already to set this meeting up and we wanted to see it. The next big thing that will happen will come in October, will be an online survey goes out to the community, not just the staff, but with the community as well. And that can be accessed through your website. Serena will work with Nancy on that to make sure that we do that. So we're going to start, and when Rich gets on, we'll have him introduce himself, and he can add a few pointers. So and first of all, thank you for agreeing to meet so quickly after the board meeting on the 11th. We appreciate that very much. And at that time, and you read in our proposal, you understand that the process involves surveys, it involves stakeholder input sessions, referencing and background checks, of course, and then ultimately the meeting when we meet with you to do the candidate selections. So,
may I ask you something? I know
yes.
your partner cannot be there to be here in Zoom, but are they going to be able to come to the meetings personally?
Rich? Yes, yes. Typically what we do is we split things because Zoom has become kind of a popular way for people. So when we do when we do our stakeholder input sessions, one of us will be here in person all day and another person will be on Zoom all day. But when we do candidate selection interviews, Rich will be here for that. Yes.
Okay, my concern was that the other company, search company, they had 2 members and they actually showed up to our board meeting for us.
Right.
In person.
Right.
And they were going to be together for the meetings.
Yes.
So I have a problem with your partner
Well, I
Even
can,
if it's on Zoom, because I don't know this person and it could be
no,
Jenny.
and I will tell you that, he just recently tested positive for COVID, so that's why he's not here.
And you don't have another partner to step in because the young woman who was here stepped in because the person who originally was going to come couldn't. So you don't have another partner that could step in?
We could, but the problem with that is they are here for one meeting, and then Rich comes in, and that person's not as involved anymore.
No, that person would just step in. Don't you have another partner that could just step in with you, that could physically be with us throughout this search?
Right, and Rich will be here as soon as we get the technology figured. Well, he couldn't, I know, but he couldn't help that he got COVID.
And he wasn't for the meeting either, for a school board meeting.
Right, and I explained that he had a prior reunion that he was attending.
And so he had a prior meeting.
And
that
they
had something he had to do. And
got COVID.
Now he has COVID, and
Right.
why don't you just pick another partner who can be here with you through the entire time?
I can see if someone else wants to step in.
Okay, I'm just not feeling comfortable with this, because the other company, they were here in person, both of them, and they were the two that would be coming in person every time, and so.
You realize the other folks have full-time jobs. This is a part-time job that they do. They have full-time jobs that they work on during the day, and they do this on the side. This is our full-time job.
That,
Pardon me?
I don't understand what that has to do with it.
Well,
but-
you can call me at 9 o'clock in the morning and I'll respond to you. If you call someone else, they're saying, well, they're at their district office taking care of business right now, they'll have to call you back.
Wasn't said at all.
You know, I want this to be a positive process for you and the board so that we get the right fit.
I want it to
And
be a positive process too, but I'm not feeling comfortable with the person that you have picked. For some reason, he wasn't at the first one, for this reason, he can't be at this one, and that might happen continually throughout this. And now you're saying that one of you will be here, and one of you will be on Zoom, and one of you will be, I don't like that, okay? I don't feel comfortable
Well, you know,
with that.
if you want us both here for the input sessions, that's,
I wanted you both here today, and I wanted you both here at the school
okay.
board meeting.
Well, I apologize for COVID, but,
Well, that's, yeah, nice excuse.
okay, so here we go. Item number one is the process. You understand from our previous meeting how this is going to work, and the recruitment efforts, the online survey that takes place, the meeting with the stakeholders, and when we gather that information from the stakeholders, that helps us develop what we call a profile description, and that is what goes on our website, and potential candidates can look at that and they can determine what it is about Newman that really attracts them and gets them to want to apply for the position. So that's why it's really important that we gather all that data from the online survey and the stakeholder input sessions. In addition, we do those because we want people in the community to feel as though they had a say in the process. Sometimes people say, well, I didn't know that this was going on. I wish somebody would have told me. I would have liked to have given my 2 cents. And this is that way that is allowed to happen. Item number 3 is to confirm the executive assistant has received the guidelines and templates. And Nancy, as I mentioned earlier, has been working with Serena to make sure that the templates that we use for the different items that go out, that Nancy's comfortable with all that, and okay, all right. Item number 4, we have the email addresses for the board members, and you should have Rich's and my emails and cell phone numbers if there's any reason that you need to contact us. Okay. So item number 5, the first bullet that you are in favor of having as many stakeholder input sessions as possible, I'm assuming. You would like people from not just the school, but from the community as well. We have given Nancy a template that indicates that the different agencies and individuals that we contact in the past and previous searches, so that we can arrange for them to meet with us to provide input from the community. It's pretty basic, yeah, Nancy? Yes.
Right, it says educational partners and community forum.
Tim, you know what, you weren't here at the last meeting, so I might have given you the old folder.
So,
May I ask you a question?
yes,
Is that what Rich looks like?
We're having some issues, I sent him the open link, he was trying to get into the second link. So I sent it again, I don't have his cell phone number,
oh, you want his cell?
so I was gonna.
Okay.
We're being recorded, so you probably don't want to shout it out.
Okay, all righty. He says, he sent a text, says it's telling him he's waiting for someone to let him in the meeting. Pardon me?
He's in the wrong link,
Oh, okay,
I sent it again, but
okay.
I'll send it.
All right, so the sheet that shows the different agencies and groups that we'll meet with from the school district, we offer a community forum. If evening meetings are better for families or parents that they want to meet. And so those are all available. And Nancy will be working with Serena to make sure that those input sessions are available to everyone. You as a board do not necessarily have to attend these sessions, because you're going to be providing today, this afternoon, your input. You're the first group that will provide the input to the 3 questions that we ask. And sometimes if there's a group of individuals that we're meeting with and a board member comes into the meeting, it makes things a bit awkward at times. If you're comfortable and you would like to attend the stakeholder meetings, you're more than welcome. But as you probably know, that sometimes when you do go to a meeting and you're not, it's not announced that you're gonna be part of that, people sometimes maybe don't say what they would normally say, just based on, you know, the feelings or whatever. So those meetings are going to take place. We'll get a date for those input sessions. We talked on the second bullet about the position description, and this is the narrative that people will read, that based on your input and the communities is the type of an individual that the Newman School District is looking for. The third bullet is talking about the ad hoc committee to review and respond to things that we request. So, for example, when we do the position description, we write up a draft and we will send it to the 2 individuals that are comprised of the ad hoc committee. Oh, there's Rich. Yes.
Item number 5, the second bullet.
Okay, so, hello, Rich.
Hi, Tom. Hi, Tom.
Hi, good to see you. Before we've started, we've gone through a few items. Before we move further, why don't you introduce yourself to the board, and then the board can introduce themselves to you.
Well, I'm happy. I'm getting a little back here. Oh, no. Is that better? No.
Yes.
Are you getting?
We're hearing you.
On?
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay. So, well, thank you. Somehow inadvertently, this was scheduled for 3 o'clock on my calendar, so, on the Zoom thing, I couldn't get in. So I'm Rich Fish, been with the Lead Associates for about 8 years. And I've worked with Tom for the last 3 plus. We've done a number of together. Retired, started as a teacher, then a principal. Spent years as a superintendent, 3 different. So,
Frank, wait 1 minute.
yeah, I don't want to hold up your meeting anymore, so I'll just,
We're just saying that you're kind of coming in with a little bit of a squelch.
a squelch.
Yes.
Well, I hate squelch.
We're missing.
Don't squelch. So, is that better?
Sounds like,
Yes.
Okay. So I don't want to meeting anymore. Sorry, I'm a little late because of that Zoom link. I will be keeping track and I'll be talking a little. So.
we're it's
Still bad. Yeah. Yeah.
Can you fix that somehow? Sounds like tweaker.
Do a test 1, 2, Rich.
Need a whole.
Test. 2.
No. Yeah, it's skipping.
I'm getting a lot. Why don't I just take notes?
Okay. All right. And maybe when we go into closed session, it'll be better. We'll see. We're on item, actually, the board at this time can introduce themselves to you, Rich, so that you know the board. We'll start with Board President Janice.
Rich, I'm Janice Conforti. I've been on the board for 17 years. I've been the board president, I think 7, if I believe. And I was a former teacher for 40 years, and I've worked in education probably since 1969. And moved here from New York, so California is different.
Great.
Rich, I'm Rosalie Hurst, and I've been on the board for 17 years, and I've been the clerk off and on, and I was in education for 25 years at the higher education level.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, I'm Tim Bazar. I've been on the board, I think, 12 years. And this is my last term. Looking forward to working with you. I was I was the public defender for the county before I retired.
Nice to meet you.
I'm Frank Rivas. I was just newly appointed in December of 2022, elected. I've been part of this community since I've been born, so this is my hometown. I went to school here in kindergarten, graduated from Orstimba. I got kids in this district, so looking forward to working with you.
Thank you.
My name is Don Cabral. Just like Frank said, I was the new member elected in December of 2022. I lived here for about 25 years. I worked for the fire department, and I was in the military. I still work for the United States government now. So just here helping out, and appreciate you guys, doing your best to lead us in the right direction to find someone.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so, Rich, we're on our check sheet, item 5, bullet 4, if you wanted to follow along. I'm sorry, we're not getting the volume and the squelch, but, you'll be the silent partner till we go into close. So, let's just go back to item, bullet 3 real quick. 5, bullet 3, this ad hoc committee, we talked about 2 board members that would be willing to represent the board. And the main function of the ad hoc committee is involved when we do the position description. Rich and I, after we go through all the online survey comments, our input sessions that we conduct, and we develop a draft of that position description, we would like to send it to the ad hoc committee, and they can review it and make changes as they see fit without having to give it to each one of the board members. So that ad hoc committee is basically going to represent the board in agreeing to the position description. The ad hoc committee gets it back to us and say, these are some changes we'd like to see, or could you add this? And we would make that, and then we could post it on our website. That way, you are allowing the committee to make that decision so we can move forward, not wait till we're all together at a regular board meeting again to approve that position description. So that's the main function of the ad hoc committee. We also sometimes have a liaison to the board, and that liaison is oftentimes the board president. If we have a quick call, something that came up, we just call the liaison, and they relay the information to the other board members. However, if you prefer, if something comes up or we hear of a candidate, we could just send all of you the same information, and then you all have it. It's your preference whether you want a liaison or if you would all like to get that information. So let's do the first with the ad hoc committee. Are there 2 members that would mind serving on the ad hoc?
Being board president, I think I should be on it also. I have, basically, the newspaper comes, I'm supposed to speak.
Okay. All right, Janice. Okay, all right.
Are you gonna be able to do it if you're away for a month? Are you gonna be able to do it since you're gonna be away for a month?
What's the approximate timeline?
For the work on that will take place towards the end of October.
Okay, that's fine.
And it would be emails going back and forth with our draft. You make corrections, additions, or whatever, and get it back to us so we can get it up on our,
During the month of October, the emails
yeah.
probably?
Are you gonna have, you're not gonna have home?
Oh, I'm gonna be gone until the 20th of October.
Okay.
I'll be back.
Without internet.
Yeah, I'm going on the
So
6th.
I don't think that's a good.
I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it.
Okay, all right. Okay. Okay, so we have Janice and Frank on the, doing the ad hoc committee. Thank you for volunteering for that. The 4th bullet in item 5 is the online survey dates and the language that you would prefer. Nancy, Serena talked to you originally about some potential dates, and are you good with those dates?
Yes.
Okay, it was the 2nd through the 9th, I believe.
Yes.
Okay.
I have a meeting set up with our webmaster tomorrow morning. Once I have a little more direction, she's already given me some information so we can highlight the search on our website.
Okay, so
Oh, Tom,
what we're talking, referring to, yes, Janice?
we also have to make sure that, we have some parents that I know don't have internet, so that they can either come to the DO Or like, I had asked Nancy, they could go to any of the schools and they could use one of the computers and there would be someone that could help them.
Okay,
Because I don't want to leave out a population of our community that may not have computers, because we found out during, COVID and that, so at least they could, if they wanted to.
okay.
Tom, could I back up for
Yes.
just a second? It says on our instruction sheet from you, that on Thursday, the duties of that committee would be, that ad hoc committee would be shared. Do you have the duties, or is that in here?
He just told us
What?
about that we have to go over what
Oh,
we're
well,
doing.
no, I mean, is that it? It's a verbal and, okay, all right, okay.
Okay, so we're putting on that bullet, the survey for the board. That means that will go onto your website on the 2nd of October, and it will run for a week through the 9th of October. And we'll make every effort to make certain that people in the community have the opportunity to do that. And typically, in the Central Valley, we put that survey out in English and Spanish. You're okay with that? All right.
Can it be put on Class Dojo? Could that be, Tom, again, I'm sorry to bother you. I've been through, 5 superintendents now. Can that be on Class Dojo? Could the survey be placed on it so they could take it, or no? Because almost every parent goes to that Class Dojo, like finding out information.
It's called Parent Square.
Parent Square,
Right.
I call
Yeah,
And we notify our parents, is that something that we should send out to every parent that it's available there? An announcement, or?
you can send that out through your website, an announcement saying, the online survey is going to be available. You can go in
Yeah.
anytime,
Okay.
and
That's,
you're.
yeah, that's
yeah.
good, yeah.
Yeah.
I want everybody to be able to get to it.
Okay, all right, so, item number 6, the first bullet is for our kind of in-house use is, most of you have heard of the AXA, and they have a EdCal newsletter that we often say people read that starting from the back to the front because that's where, all the ads are put. So we have a couple dates that were set to run those ads for EdCal. The next bullet is for the staff and community input sessions, and these are the ones where Rich and I will meet with staff and the community. We were looking at, Nancy, October 6th, a Friday. That would give you time to put together a schedule where we could meet with those folks. How does that look?
Whoa, that's, yeah, that's a week.
If possible, the following week would be
Yeah, I think
better.
give more time. I think the 9th would be better, give you more time, because this week is almost over, so that would only give you next week, really. So,
The 9th is our board meeting,
yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Sorry, then the 9th, October 9th is our board.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
That would, if we did the 6th, it would give you 2 weeks to schedule those appointments. And Serena will tell you that you got this, it is doable to do that in that amount of
I mean,
time.
if I can work remote,
Yeah.
because I'm out of town from next Wednesday all the way through the 9th.
Okay,
So
And I-
that's why I'm saying that the 10th would be better.
When's the board meeting?
Uh,
The 9th is the board meeting.
Okay,
So if we did it 10th to the 20th. Because I'm not foreseeing this ending before the beginning of the year. When I look at some things, I do not want to rush this. I don't want to get burned again.
Rich, what's your schedule on, say, Nancy, would you be comfortable like October 20th?
That's a long.
Yes, and that, this building is available on the 20th.
Okay. Rich, how's that look on your schedule?
That is not a, the 20th will not for me. The 9th is to be open.
That's our board meeting, can't be. So the week of the 20th would be better. Or the 18th, we'll go back.
Okay.
What's that way, Don will be around?
What about, Rich, the 19th of October? How about Nancy, are you, no?
That's good. I can do it by Zoom. Won't be able to drive up there, but I could do it by Zoom.
The 17th or 18th, we have the space available.
The 17th or 18th. And Rich, Rosalie has requested that we both be in person for the input sessions.
Okay, then the best week, 9th, the week of the 9th, but which actually get 3 weeks. That's a long.
Okay,
Part of that is Nancy has to work, would have to do that by, soon enough. She's going to be out of the state for a very specific reason.
so Nancy, your best dates are when?
17th and 18th, or 19th.
I'm checking the building availability as well. The October 11th,
The Wednesday after the board meeting.
the 13th,
Okay. You do that then on the 11th or 13th.
yeah, and I can get it set up while I'm away. I just, I'll check the availability of,
The building, so 11th.
the 17th or 18th.
Okay. Rich, what's your 18th like of October?
Well, that's why the 9th worked very well, because the 18th is a schedule, for my son's anniversary.
Okay,
So I've had those on a long time.
So the 17th.
17th? Well, the 17th.
Yeah, as long as I can leave that evening and get away reasonable time that evening. You just got to travel whole county for the 7th, the 18th, I mean, so. I could do the 7th.
It's the 17th. Yeah, I do the 17th.
17th?
And what time of day do you normally, all day?
It's every 30 minutes, the 10-minute break, so they typically start at 8:30,
Okay,
and then we go 30 minutes, 10-minute break, 30 minutes.
got it. I
And,
just wanna
17th.
book this building right now.
okay, but, I mean, we can plop down anywhere. We could be in the district office somewhere, we could be at a school site.
No, this isn't a good idea. This is the best number of time. 8:30 start.
Okay, on the 17th, bullet number 2. Okay, then the next date where the board is fully involved is the closed session for the application review. And we are looking at the week of the 13th of November, when the board would be available to meet for 2.5 to 3 hours.
That's our board meeting again. Right? The week of? Oh, okay, the week of. The week of the 13th.
13th through the 17th.
The only day I can't do is a doctor's appointment that's been set up for a year for my husband. So that would be the 15th, otherwise it wouldn't happen.
Serious.
The 16th? How's the 16th? How does the
We did the 16th or the
What time?
16th.
It would be for all day.
No, they said 3 hours, so probably start.
Yeah,
2,
3 hours.
Oh, 3 hours, okay.
Okay, so it'd be morning, like 8:30.
3 hours, how's that, the 16th? John?
Frank isn't available after 12.
12.
Okay, so we have to do it in the afternoon.
I can move what's scheduled in here,
The 17th.
if you just tell me what time.
No, the 17th, right?
The 17th?
No, the 16th. 16th, I'm sorry, 16th,
Thursday, the
Thursday.
16th.
Thursday,
Let's start at 2 o'clock.
Has to be afternoon,
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock?
2 o'clock.
Okay,
What time?
Nancy, is that good?
Yes.
Thursday, the 16th at 2 o'clock?
2 o'clock.
Uh,
Okay, great.
16th. And that's when we're going over.
All the candidates that have applied. Okay, and the next bullet is the closed session day for interviews, and that is an all-day.
I'd like that to be a Saturday.
You'd like that to be on a Saturday?
No, we're not doing a Saturday.
Why, football season?
Yeah, I'm not available on Saturday.
What's December 4th on people's schedule? That's a Monday, all day.
That is fine with me.
How's this okay, is that okay for you, John?
I work, but the 5th would be better for me.
So December 7th,
Either 4th or 5th. Which is better for of the two, the 4th
The
or
5th?
5th? The 5th, Frank?
Tuesday the 5th?
No, I was asking better than Tim.
I don't care either day.
Okay, the 5th, if you can.
Okay, we're gonna do December,
Wait, Nancy has to see if the room is. Okay, and that's where we're going to be looking at interview.
and that will start at 8 a.m. And
Can we start at 9?
we have a 30-minute orientation, and the first interview will begin at 8:30.
So it's 8 a.m. till we finish.
until, okay.
Correct.
And this is just going off the interviews, though.
Pardon me?
It's just the candidates, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And 2, and 5, and 20. All right, got it.
Okay, so we have the input sessions for our purpose on the 17th of October. We're doing candidate selection meeting on the 16th at 2 p.m. And we're doing the interviews on the 5th of December, and that's at 8 o'clock. You have a board meeting on the 11th, and the idea is that you would be able to approve your finalists at that board meeting, because you have to approve them at a regular board meeting. You can't approve them at a special.
They're not gonna approve them in January. They're not gonna do anything between December and January. Both of them are still, but it's not that.
What he's saying is, you'll interview on the 5th, correct? You'll
Yes.
interview on the 5th and approve on the 11th.
Correct. Okay. Nancy, we will work with you on the location Would we interview here, do you think? Is that what you're looking? And then would there be a holding area for the candidates that, and then we could usher a candidate out the back door or the side door?
We did that.
Okay,
Here, yeah.
very perfect. That's just perfect. Wow. That's awesome. Because that's really important for confidentiality, et cetera, that we kind of keep that separate. Okay. And the last bullet on item number 6, the target date then for offering employment would be December 11th at your regular board meeting.
Interviews are on the
No.
on the 5th. And then the location.
All right.
And that's
Okay, those are critical dates that sometimes it takes an hour and a half to get those resolved, and we did it in about 20 minutes. That's terrific. Congratulations. That was awesome. Item number 7 is candidate recruitment. We will begin with, advertising. As mentioned in our proposal, we have a number of individuals that are involved in academies that we offer. We have a superintendent's academy, we have a CBO academy. These people are always considering and looking for other employment or that next position. And so this announcement will get out that we have these dates and timelines in place, and so we can actively begin the process.
Do most of these people come from Stanislaus County and the surrounding counties? Some ways I'd like to look at.
Oh, sorry.
It just, Janet said, depends from search to search where most of the candidates, but I will tell you that we get people from all over the state. We do find that people in Northern California tend to stay in Northern California.
And Southern, right.
Southern California stay there. On occasion, we hired someone for Calusa that was from superintendent in San Diego, but he wanted to move north, and so it just depends,
And so they're mostly all California candidates, right?
well, that depends. We are doing a search currently, Rich and I in Eureka, and we have an international candidate, and we have 4 candidates from 3 other states. So it just depends on what perks people's interests and desire to apply. Okay, so item number 8, the worksheet of contract parameters. I wanted to let you know, as we get down to the candidate selection, and you have selected the individuals that you're going to interview. When we have that meeting, Rich and I will have ranked all of the applicants, and before the meeting, you'll be able to go into our portal, and you'll be able to look at all the resumes of all the candidates for yourself. And when we have that meeting, we'll give you our rankings, but this is your search. And you can say, Tom, I was looking in the portable on that resume, I'd like to interview that candidate, and we'll interview that candidate. So it's just because we have ranked them based on who we believe would be the best fit. But after you read somebody's resume or a letter of recommendation, or maybe you know somebody, you might want to change and say, we'd like to move this person out and this person in, and we'll do that. Sometimes in our reference checking, you'll see someone that looks great on paper and say, you have them ranked in tier 2.
We've seen that.
You have them ranked tier 2, number 8, why? And we'll say, well, in doing our research, we found that they've recently had 2 DUIs. And is hiring a person with that, someone that, because people are gonna find out.
Right.
You know. And so we try to protect you as well as the district in terms of making sure that you know everything about all the candidates and any potential baggage that may come with them. So that's all laid out, and that's why that meeting, takes a longer time because we go through every candidate. And you ask questions, you probe, we give you our responses, and ultimately, we recommend that you interview 4 to 5 candidates and really no more. Because 6 becomes a handful and it makes it a really long day. 4 to 5 is manageable and you get a really a great mix of who's available and who's gonna be that right fit. You will interview in the morning, you'll take a lunch break, then you deliberate and you decide who the top 2 candidates you would like to come back for a final interview.
Okay, so we're having the interviews on the 5th, and then we discuss in the afternoon. So then we have to have another meeting to decide which one of those 3 or whatever we would offer the contract
Well,
to.
that's all on the 5th.
It's all on the 5th?
Yes.
That's why it's all day.
You interview in the morning, the first round, then
Have you ever
you,
been through those?
Yeah.
I've been through 5.
we deliberate and then we come back with the top 2 candidates and you deliberate again and then ultimately offer the position to the finalists.
What happens if we want to talk to like 2 out of the 3 again?
Well, you can do that.
So they're here, they haven't left.
We tell people if they're from out of town that they don't leave until
We call.
call them and tell them that the board has not selected them
Okay.
as a finalist. So people are just kind of in the area. We tell them to be within 15 minutes of where they can be back.
That's Patterson.
And that happens
Right, yeah.
sometimes. The second round of the first round of questions are all scripted, and each candidate is asked the same question. The second round of interviews are more of a conversation and probing, where you ask the person, say, in the first round you talked about a budget plan that you had in your other district. Could you go into a little more detail about that? So you don't have scripted questions for the second round. But before the candidates come in, you all talk amongst yourself, and Frank says, well, I'd like to ask a question about this initiative that they did that seemed like it was really successful. I'd like to find out more about that. So that's gonna be Frank's question. Janice, you have another question. So because we don't want in the second round, Janice just ask a question and then say, oh, I was gonna ask that. We wanna make sure we're all on the same page with that. But the reason I bring all that up, because on item number 8, we will, when it gets down to the top 2 finalists, we will have met with the candidates and given them what we call a contract parameter worksheet. And that is basically, they're gonna fill this out and tell us what they would like as a salary, as a work calendar, benefits, allowances for dues or mileage or things like that. Oftentimes, they'll just look at the current superintendent contract and use that, or they'll say, I'll have the same benefit package as the certificated staff, something like that. But the reason we do that is we have the last superintendent contract. We know the salary range. When we advertise, we're gonna say competitive. We're not gonna necessarily put a range in, but you have a 7-step contract, and I'm presuming if you have someone that comes in with 5 years' experience as superintendent, you likely start him higher than step 1, just based on their experience, okay? Or if you have someone that comes in that was working in Fresno and they were an associate superintendent, but this is their first superintendency, you might be step 1 because you've got to start somewhere. The point I'm saying is, when we talk to the candidates, we know where your range is. So if someone says, well, man, I'm excited, I really like to work in Newman, but I'm coming from Marin and I can't work for less than $280 a year. well, then we say, that's not gonna work. So we understand and we work with people so that when it gets down to you offering the job, you know that contract negotiations should be pretty smooth, because you already know ahead of time that they've agreed to most of the terms. And it's just a matter of having their AXA legal counsel look at it and your legal counsel look at it and buttoning it up. So the last thing you want to do is enter contract negotiations and you're thousands of dollars apart on salary or other items. So we want to make sure that that's all massaged ahead of time. That's what the contract parameter is.
Tom, if we need, not us, but the two people, need to go on a site visit, when will that occur between, let me see.
If people wanted to go on a site visit, that would be following the 5th, because that's when you're offering the job to the finalists,
So between the 5th and the
And-
11th.
technically the 11th. So you would schedule something Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday of that week to go on a visit. We did not include that in this proposed timeline when COVID hit and people weren't going anywhere. And then when COVID left, people haven't really, we've not had one board that's gone on a visit. Oftentimes it's a showtime because, your finalist is gonna introduce you to all the people that are gonna say wonderful things about them. And you can get a sense of the district that they're coming from. So it's not, certainly, we don't rule it out of the question if that's what you want to do, but it's something that we've seen a drop off since COVID hit. Would you agree with that, Rich, about the visitations?
Yeah, I'd actually go a little farther. I've done 48 searches and I've never make a visit.
Okay.
Most of them that ever done it found it to be, like you said, I'm not discouraging. The board is certainly, typically an you don't really want to go.
Okay. I think we understood some of what you said.
I'm sorry, is it all?
Yeah.
Bradley?
You got it.
Yeah, okay. I get the sense that Tim has been on a lot of Zoom calls because he's got ears to pick that up. He's reading you loud and clear.
Sorry about that.
Okay. And then, item number 9 is a copy of the current superintendent contract, and we do have the last contract. Nancy sent that to us. And like I say, superintendents, people that apply will want to see what that is so that they have an idea of what's, if that's in their range, if that's something they're going to pursue or not. So we're on item number 10, clarification. Are you feeling comfortable with the process and the timelines and the dates that we've established? Okay, all right. Okay, now, Rich, this comes time for you to take notes.
Yes.
Okay, all right, I heard that. So before we go into closed session,
Hey, Tom,
yes,
please have board members speak into their microphones because I can't hear them.
okay, all right.
No problem.
Okay, so item number 11, when we do our input sessions with staff and the community, these are the questions that we're asking. You as a board are the first group that we will gather input from that will really help formulate this profile description that we write, the position description. So we're asking you now, in no particular order, you can, we're gonna start with the first bullet. the desired qualities or characteristics that you would like to see the next superintendent that comes to Newman possess. So whoever is ready, Rich is ready to take notes on that.
Well,
Okay,
if I
all right,
could,
Tim?
I mean, I'm only speaking for myself, obviously, but
Yeah.
I think we need somebody who's a consensus builder, somebody who's gonna reestablish a sense of teamwork in the district, particularly among the administrative staff. I think that that was probably a strength of the district a while ago, and maybe even as recently as the last couple of years ago. But with the departure of the most recent superintendent, there was a fair amount of division into rival camps, it seems to me. This is just looking at it from the outside. I don't think I'm relaying any intimate conversation I had with staff or anything like that. But I think we need somebody who will come in and try to put it back together so that everybody's hopefully pulling in the same direction. I think in the past, at least for myself, again, speaking for myself, I've tried to see if I was going to be able to find somebody who had some innovative approach to education that maybe would pull our students along a little faster than other districts. And I think that was a mistake. At least now I feel that was way about myself. And I don't think that we should look, or I don't think I'm looking for any kind of miracle as far as the educational process is concerned, a new software program or a new lesson plan or a new particular program. What I'm looking for is somebody, again, to just reunite the district, sort of calm everybody down and pull them or push them along or direct them in the direction that we want to go to, which is, you know, providing a good education for the kids of the community. That's my 2 cents.
Okay. Others, Tim, you want to add others?
Other qualities?
Yeah.
Well, you know, I suppose I would be suspicious if anybody had not actually been a classroom teacher. I want to see somebody who's actually been an instructor, because I think it's hard to relate to a staff that's largely made up of teachers if you haven't actually been a teacher and done a fair amount of that work. I don't have any particular checklist of administrative experience that I want to see the person have. I don't care about that much. As far as the economics of the particular situation or the person's expertise in economics or budgeting, that kind of thing, again, that's something maybe 5-10 years ago I would have seen as more important, particularly when we were coming out of a recession when I was elected. I do believe we're going to have some problems in the future economically, but I'm not looking for a miracle worker as far as the budget's concerned. In my mind, the person that I'm looking for would have a strong track record of building teams. That's what I think would be important. How I'm going to see it, I don't know. Whether there's no one thing I'm going to see in that individual and say, oh, that's a team builder. But I hope that I am able to recognize enough of that so that I'm confident that I'm picking somebody who, again, can put the administration and the staff back to where I think they were a few years ago.
Okay. All right, who's next?
I think I'll try if it's okay. I want someone with an educational background, especially someone that can now look at, we don't know what's going to happen with the students that went through COVID, especially our kindergartners, first, second, third graders there, who may not know how to read. We need to have someone that has insight or able to look to other ways rather than the traditional ways, but still hold on to traditional values of learning. Because we have a community that's very willing to help and very willing to give. They want to please. We want to make our district one of the best. The other part is having an administrator that will accept everyone, whether or not they are in the education field, or they're in the education field, or if they're our landscaper, our custodian, are working with the town, the city, because we now have a new pool. We still don't know what's going to happen with it. Someone that can bring all of the factions together and take their assets and weave them all together so that they're working as a cohesive group. We have a great divide. There's yours, mine, and ours now. And it's not it's what I came into 17 years ago. And then we had a really nice district that everybody got along and it respected whether or not you were, pink with polka dot hair, or whether or not you were male, female, or whatever. So I think we need someone like that, and that's able to listen and at the same time able to give direction without demeaning someone. Okay. Anyone else? I'm done.
I had a couple things wrote down. Sorry about that. I had a couple things that I wrote down, just brainstorm some ideas. Like Janice and Tim had said, is we need somebody to come in here to even kilter the ship and push it out of the waves, if you will. There's too many. How do I want to say this? We need somebody that's willing to cross that bridge and narrow that gap between multi agencies like the city, the rec department, the school district, and also to make our employees and our administrators at each site bring themselves up as well. So we need somebody that has strong management style, leadership traits to kind of tie all that together. And then too, another thing would be is if we have somebody that actually not necessarily lives like in a local area, but at least somebody that has managed smaller districts that, have maybe 7-8 schools, one high school type program, or the size of the district, small town atmosphere, 20,000 people, 30,000 people. So that way we can look and see how well they perform as like a superintendent of their school district, as far as like, budget items, facility stuff, maintenance department, classrooms, aging equipment, at the schools. So we are in some pretty financial disarray probably in a couple years. I looked at the budget and those figures are pretty even. So we're gonna need somebody that can lead us in the right direction to push us forward instead of just, this is what we did for 10 years, so.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with fresh blood. That's all I had for that section.
No, go ahead, Frank.
Janice said this is like their 5th panel for superintendent. I'll ask them later why it's been that. I don't know, it's because they didn't like it here, they left, get rid of them, but 5 and I don't know how long your term.
17 years.
To me,
17 years.
I don't know the process of how long you're supposed to be superintendent. If I apply and I'm superintendent the next 20 years, I don't know if that's allowed. I'm just saying, I don't know if that's allowed or not.
I don't know.
I'm just saying, it would be nice to just have somebody here and knowing that's gonna be, if we hire Darn tomorrow, he's gonna be here 10, 15 years from now.
Yeah.
And, it's just getting this district back to where it used to be. This is a small community, small town. When we have, something bad in this town, everyone pulls together. If we have something bad in the district, we pull together. I personally don't see that. We need to get that back. We have great kids, great teachers, great staff, but we need somebody that's gonna familiar with, small staff and that's ready to lead, and, lead us in the right, back to where we need to be. And hopefully we can find it sooner rather than later, in my opinion.
Okay, I'm the person who does the homework, so I wrote it down. And I hope I'm not repeating a whole bunch of times what someone said. I need a superintendent who puts the students' needs first. That's number one. None of us are here if it's not for the students. I need an organized person, a people person, of course, someone who's knowledgeable of the job. I need someone who's honest, kind of an even personality, fair, easy to work with, and someone who shares with the board, okay? We've had different, styles from superintendents over the years, but it's nice to get a weekly report, but it's also nice to know, and I'm gonna go ahead and use this, okay? Because it was in the newspaper, okay? Nice to know immediately when someone's on the school grounds with a firearm. So not only do we need weekly reports, but when something occurs, the board needs to be made aware of it because people start asking us questions. And if we don't have the answers, they're wondering why. Okay, so that would be mine.
Okay. All right, those are wonderful answers. Thank you for that. Second bullet now, we're asking the district's strengths. What are you proud of that you're part of the Newman School District? What is the Newman Crow's Landing? What does that make you swell up with pride to know that you're part of this organization? And we use that to help in our advertising when we can highlight things from the community, but especially the school district. So same thing, any particular order, but we're talking about the strengths of the district.
Okay, I think one of our big strengths is that we recognize students. We've always had some kind of process. We used to have the attendance awards, and we just started it again. A lot of it had to do with COVID. We recognize our athletic teams. We recognize academic students. We don't take one and put it into a pie and it's only that one slice. And we're also very familial. When I first came here, mommy, daddy, grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle were all out the district. Everybody knew everybody else. We've gotten more open as far as that goes, but we're still a very big family. Like they said, anything happens here, we help. If we find out that a student needs something, either a teacher goes out and helps or something like that. And it's a very homey, safe atmosphere most of the time. And I don't see a lot of, I want to say there is conflict, but there's something about it. I have no problem. I've walked into classrooms and being an old-fashioned teacher, I was on the floor and half the times they were like, where is she? They didn't become upset because I was a board member going in. I think our teachers accept us for coming for the most part.
Nice. Very nice.
Well, I can second what Janet was just saying about family. It's a community that's grown over the last 25 years, but it hasn't grown that much. So you have a lot of families that have been here for 25, 50 years. My wife was born here and she's 59. Oh, she's 59. And so, I mean, this is a silly little story that I've told before, but I have kids from a previous marriage, and my 15-year-old, I think, at the time, my youngest daughter from that marriage, had trouble in Visalia at a big high school. Was not doing well academically, was having some problems, and so she came to Newman to live with me. She righted the ship. She did well her sophomore year, and so she said, can I go back to Visalia my junior year? Okay, go ahead. She went back, had some problems, and then requested that she come back to Newman for her senior year. So she came back, graduated, she's now a nurse. She did well in college and all that. But it wasn't the academic aspect that was better here than, say, in Visalia. It was the accepting aspect. She knew people here in Newman when she was a sophomore who were both juniors and freshmen. By the time she was a senior, she knew people who were several years younger than her and still knew some people who had graduated before her, because there was a better sense of family, at least at the high school level. Now, I had 3 other kids after that, and they all went through Newman schools, and they all experienced the same thing. So, and all my kids have gone on to academic success, so I think we provide a decent education that can be a foundation to go to any university you want to go to or any other path you want to take. But the real strength in my mind is that sense of family and familiarity, so that you have, another example, we have several families where you have multiple generations who are teachers in this area. So, or husbands and wives who are teachers, or husbands and new wife and brother, that kind of thing, who all work for the school district. And that's a strength, because while you want a diversity of opinion and point of view, you also want continuity. And that has been something that Newman has. So that, again, you can meet somebody like Frank, who has lived here his whole life and started in our schools and finished in our schools, and that's not that unusual. I mean, my wife's another good example of the same thing, and all the members of her family and other people down the street from me on my same block. Now, while I've only been here for 24 years, and I didn't go to school here because I'm a little too old for that, it's a strength of the community and of the school district. So it's hard for somebody to really appreciate it until you actually experience it, but it is a more cohesive sense of awareness of who's at the school, so that, you know, people don't feel like I think anyway, people don't feel like, well, there's one clique over there and there's another clique over there, there's a third clique over here. There probably are cliques and groups. I'm not trying to say we're unique and that we're just marvelous and everybody else is wrong, but it's less that way. Yeah. And there's at least some kind of awareness of each group, of everybody else, so that, again, using my daughter as an example, she had friends all over the place here that she never really had in Visalia. And I'm not faulting Visalia, it was a big high school, but, you know, she only socialized in Visalia with a small group of people, you know, a very small little clique that she knew. Here, she knew a wider circle of friends and people. And similarly, she knew the teachers, I think, better here too. And I think that's a real strength. That went on.
Very good.
Try to save time here. The only thing that I have different that hasn't been mentioned already is each one of our schools has a tremendous number of after-school programs, sports programs, dance, music, playing with robots, making robots. That's one of the strong things that we have here at each school, and not just one. The ag department at the high school is top notch. You probably won't find anywhere else as good as programs and extra that they have over there. And that's the only thing that I have that's not mentioned already. So that's all I got.
All right.
Yeah, they pretty much all said this strengths me. Like I said, like Tim said, I've been here, went to school here, lived here all my life. My kids go here. You know, and I feel safe here. I feel the school systems are safe. I haven't really had any issues, you know, where, there's, like I think Janice said, or live shoot or anything like that here. Do I think it will happen here? In my opinion, no. Because it's Newman. Newman's a small great town. So, I mean, the other strength is community. We have great community members, you know. That's where I think a great school is with the community, you know. So, I know you also said in here challenges. There's some challenge, I guess that was
Oh,
part of
we'll
it
get
too.
to it.
Oh, that's the next one?
We'll
Oh,
We'll
okay.
get that next.
Okay, then that's it.
Okay, I think school spirit, because I don't think I've ever been with a school district where I've seen a principal's taped to the wall. You know, I mean, I've seen some things that go on at the schools and it's wonderful. I mean, absolutely wonderful. Of course, the staff, facilities, when you drive up, you know that you're around one of our facilities for school. I mean, it's evident. And programs. Programs are very, very important. And so I think that's a big strength of ours. And that's what you were talking about, Mr. Cabral, was the programs after school, NAMI, you know, I mean, just what we offer to our students. And it is the staff that offers that, and then we need to support that.
Okay. All right.
Oh, Tom, one of the other things, no matter who walks on, when I normally have my badge, so, you know, they recognize I'm somebody from staff, but if I don't, I have young men opening gates for me, doors for me.
Yeah.
I have little guys that say, do you know where you're going? If not, I'll take you. They all embody the help, and that it's just homegrown. So
Nice.
it's very helpful.
Very nice. The reason we put challenges down is oftentimes there's something either current or lurking on the horizon with the district that potentially is going to have a negative effect on the district. And we want to know that so that the person that you select, we can give a heads up to and say, you know, here's a couple issues, decline in enrollment, or whatever it might be, that you need to start wrapping your head around so that when you hit the ground running, you're already on these challenges that are within the district. So that's why we do challenges. So let's start with that.
But I'm going to do something. I live in the island. If you think of Newman, this is the town. If you think of where I live and I represent, it's Diablo Grande, 26 miles away, and we're completely surrounded by Patterson. A lot of times the parents there feel that sometimes they're not included because they're too far away. Even though they are, you know, they're invited down, but the distance. So just knowing that most people that buy a house up there, a lot of times don't even know that this is our school district. They figure it's Patterson. So the new administrator has to recognize that group of people, and a lot of them spend a lot of time on the road because they go into the Bay Area to go to work, as many parents do here. But that's a hard part. And sometimes getting to something, if you figure our bus picks up students at 6:22 in the morning, as compared to getting out of bed and you're in school in, you know, a half hour. So
Yeah.
that's one thing that our superintendent has to be made aware of.
Okay,
And we try to do that.
all right.
Some of the things that I have wrote down is financial stability in the future. A couple years from now, we're like just operating just right at even kilter, so that's probably something to keep on the back burner. A lot of our facilities are in need of upgrades. We have a lot of old schools out there, and plus, you know, with a lot of the subdivisions that are being built, we need to have another school in the plans to incorporate that population growth. One of the biggest ones is the retention of the teachers that we have. You look at year in and year out, there's 20 people going, 15 coming in, right? We're fighting over the same pool in the Central Valley of teachers. I know, for me, I know personal friends that their sisters, wives, brothers, they're all teachers, but they don't teach here. They drive across the river to go over there and make more money. So it's that competing wage with bigger city, Modesto City schools, you know, other districts that are paying more. But I mean, so we have to think of that as too, is the teacher retention and keeping our employees here and happy instead of them leaving to go somewhere else. You know, I mean, because people have vested interest that they live here, right? Versus going across the river or going to another town, right? So those are all the things I wrote down.
Yeah, that's a point.
Well, Don took what I was gonna say, but some things, but there is one that, I mean, we have great students are great, graduations, kids in elementary, but what I would like to see is, we have to hold some of these kids accountable for certain things that they do wrong, you know? So if he slacks off, but you know what, next time don't do it. You're fine, but he does it again, nothing. You know, that's something that I would like to see, you know, take action, you know, and seeing something like that. And then also, when something needs to get done, it should get done. Not like, yeah, we're gonna do this, but we agree to do it, but let's wait 4 or 5 years from down the road to do it. You know? Financially, we're good now, but like everyone said, 3, 4 years down the road, who knows? You know, we might not have money, we might, you know, who knows? That's just the world we live in right now. You know? So that's kind of the challenge that I see happening, you know, later on down the road. Not now, but later on.
Very good.
We've had a little bit of a toxic situation going on, as you guys have mentioned, the division. And so we need to think about really finding a way to keep staff. And that's what Mr. Cabral is talking about. And to find and keep a good superintendent for a while. I mean, I know they move on for different reasons. And something to think about as far as the future for our school district is that the superintendent runs the district, and then the superintendent answers to the board, not the other way around. And so when thinking about the future, what we need to have is someone who realizes that. And I just can't say enough for communication, letting the board members know what's going on. And I don't know, Mr. Rivas, if you were talking about that, what I mentioned, it's in the newspaper. There was one on the school grounds. Okay.
Tim?
Well, just to have something to say, I would say parent involvement. It's been hard to get parents involved in the educational process, and I don't think that's unique to Newman. Some parents are always involved, but there's a larger group of parents that just leave it to the school to provide an education, and I wish they were a little more involved. But how you answer that, in the 13 years I've been here, that's been a problem, and I still think it'll probably continue to be one. But if they've got a magic solution, more power to them.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, thank you very much. Rich, you got all that? And we're, okay, very good, very good. So this is the first round of all the input that we'll gather from all the different agencies and groups that we'll be talking to over the next month or so. We're scheduled to go into a closed session for just a few short minutes where we don't have to much to discuss. I'm wondering if we could just stay here and keep Rich connected instead of having to disconnect. No.
It's being recorded on a public channel right now.
Oh.
I had sent him a prior.
Okay. All right. So Rich, you're gonna sign into another link for a closed session. Okay. All right. So we're prepared to go into closed session.
I will go log in right now.
Are we doing it
You
here?
don't have to, no, you're gonna go, no,
That's what I thought.
you don't have
lost my board agenda. I put it in here. Ah, here we go. Closed session. Oh, this one. Okay, here we go. Since I have the other one. Okay, as of now, we do not have anything to report out of action taken in closed session, so we will adjourn this meeting at 3:48. Thank you. Have a,
Yes.
thank you, everyone.